should say welcome to.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Foolishness.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Parker Denny. This is my friend Shayla Turner. This is the Fighting Foolishness podcast. Shayla and I have been friends for a really long time. We just decided to open up our conversations to YouTube because we have a lot of really interesting conversations. And neither one of us know where this thing is going to go, but we're just going to let it ride. We're going to see.
Together.
And the ambassador, Mr. Kosh, is sitting over there. He might decide to make an appearance.
Did you say your whole name?
I don't know.
Okay. I think I'm going to be Just Shay because I'm going to have my business that's Just Shay. So I think that's what it's going to be. But
so we know what Shay's official name here is. It's Shay.
Uh-huh.
And I'm Parker. I don't remember what I said before, but that's okay. So I guess where are we going to start today, Shay? Because you were just talking about what was it?
Shedeur's. Are you talking about Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah. Well, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, and you know nothing about it.
I don't.
So Shedeur Sanders is Deion Sanders' son.
Okay.
Never
mind. Go ahead.
He was.
You knew where I was going with that, don't you?
About sports?
No.
Oh.
Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Shedeur Sanders. I know nothing about sports, guys, by the way. So
yeah, which is why I didn't think.
I was not expecting for her to just say that was his son. I was like, is that his wife?
No,
it's his son. Okay,
it's his son. And so, Shedeur Sanders was tentatively, easily should have gone as a number 1 NFL draft pick.
Okay.
And instead, he went number 55.
How did he get from number 1 to 55?
I wish the camera could see your face, because that's the face of the world. Just turn. That's the face of the world.
What happened?
Yes, this is why I wanted to talk to you about it.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's dive in, because you know more than I do. So, I mean, what are they saying about this?
Also, because there's more. Also,
I would hope so if he went from 1 to 55.
Yeah, and it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Okay.
Also, a high school student who is the son of one of the NFL team's offensive coordinators or something.
What year in high school was he?
Junior.
Okay.
Old enough to know better.
Okay.
Oh no.
They usually are.
Decided to call and prank Shedeur on NFL draft night and tell him that he was getting drafted by, I think, the New Orleans Saints or something like that.
Okay.
So on NFL draft night that goes into the wee hours, he got pranked. He was overlooked by people. He was taking number 55 instead of number 1, even though he's one of the best talents of his generation. Something I recently found out, he chose to not go to the NFL Combine, which is like a skills weekend. Yet, for more information, I found out it's not just a skills weekend. At the NFL Combine, they ask you all these different probing questions. So it's an interview. The NFL teams get to interview the players.
I see.
Yet they interview them in ways that definitely wouldn't be recorded on camera. So,
like the white light kind of sit them down on a table and have a polygraph or something.
They're not gonna have a polygraph yet. They're gonna say, so I heard that your mom sold drugs.
Oh.
like they're gonna ask
like that.
Like they're gonna ask questions that potentially would make most people have a negative reaction. They'll say all kinds of things, and so that is something that came out. And he chose to skip that weekend. His father, the great Deion Sanders, played in the NFL, went through an NFL Combine weekend, So as a parent, if I had known that there was something that's kind of hazing like, I wouldn't necessarily have suggested that my son attend to please the team owners. Also, Shedeur Sanders is one. So I know this is why I didn't want to talk about it because
No, it's all good. I'm very curious now about all the things.
yeah. Well, also, so the contract that he was given and he accepted, I think it was Cleveland. He spent more money himself setting up his I don't even know what they're called. You can set up like a room in your house or whatever where everybody. So he decorated this room and he had designers and he had like a wall. He had all kinds of different things like it. He put legendary in different places on his wall and just different graphic designs, furniture, things of that nature. So he spent more money designing a room than what they offered him in the NFL contract that he got. And so there's more.
I would hope so.
Yeah. He is one. I believe he's considered one of the first generations of NIL kids. NIL is the law that allows student athletes to make money while in high school and college. So even though he wanted to play for the NFL, he didn't necessarily have to play for the NFL in order to make NFL money because he's already been making it. So
I got all kinds of questions.
Okay. Google's right here. Let's see what we got.
Okay. So what are we missing? Like, is the idea that he was just treated unfairly?
A lot of what has been.
Or do they even know? Because it doesn't sound like anything is being said. It sounds like this just happened.
A lot's being said.
A lot of facts or a lot of people opining about it? Like if they said why.
The NFL, of course, is not going to say. They're not going to say why.
Okay.
Yet the whole thing with him being pranked by the high school junior, the fact that the person that went Shedeur was number 1. The person who was number 2 to him went first. He was the first draft pick. People who've never even played against Shedeur went ahead of him.
Okay.
There was a lot of sentiment of they were attempting to humble him. The NFL was attempting to humble him because they felt like he felt like he was too good to do the things that everybody else was doing. And I guess jumping and dog and ponying for the NFL team. The combine being one of the things. I don't know enough. I know that Shedeur has played for his father. I know that his father has groomed him and his brother they're athletes, and he's not only did he raise them in his image, but they've been around this life. The schools that they played at were the schools that their fathers coached at, and also that was a part of the conversation too. They're concerned that they've been coached by Deion Sanders, and so a coach is going to have to compete with that. Is going to have to compete with the fact that you've been coached by someone who has actually walked on the field, and are you going to be coachable? Which I when I heard that argument, I said, that's real interesting. Okay.
Yeah, well, it is because from what you're saying to me, at least, I'm not impressed with Shedeur Sanders already. Like, I get it. like in everything that you do, there's always going to be some kind of rite of passage, and even when you get into something like hazing, it's like, are you crossing a line or not? Are you crossing a line of safety? Are you doing harm to somebody? Or do you have just some custom or ritual that you must go through in order to, get from wherever it is you are now to wherever it is you're trying to go? And so this idea that he's just going to be like, oh, I'm not going to do that, and then he thinks he's going to still be treated like everybody else. I get why there would be some concern. Now, going from 1 to 55, that's a lot. That's a huge drop.
Huge drop.
That's almost a snub. And this idea that this other athlete's junior in high school son had the audacity and felt comfortable enough to prank call into the draft and do all these things. That tells me that there's some part of the story that they're not saying.
Yeah.
There's something else clearly on the table here, because none of that seems to be, if you got a solid player, all that stuff, it doesn't seem normal.
Well, to be fair to the NFL, so the draft happened on the weekend, or I don't remember when the draft happened. A couple days later, they fined that coach and that coach's team.
Oh, okay.
And so that it's like a half of 500,000.
$500,000?
I think it's $500,000. Yeah, I think it's $500,000.
I hope it was worth it.
Well, and what was irritating and what several people said is like, if it's interesting that the coach didn't have his son make the apology. Because he got up and made an apology on behalf of the team, and he apologized because he didn't protect Shedeur's information, yet
or the interests of his team.
Your son should have apologized too, because how is that okay?
It's not.
And ultimately what are you teaching him in not making him apologize? But
and how did it get to the point where his son knew, I guess, that Shedeur wasn't going to be at the spot in the draft that he originally expected to be in? Like that, it begs more questions than it does answers. I'm just hearing about this for the first time on a podcast. Like what is I don't know. Like Shayla knows. You should have known for a long time. I don't even know the rules of football. I don't know how the things go. Like I'm just like, oh, they're running around, cool. Like he's got the ball, great. They're dancing on the end of the field. Why are they dancing? Okay.
Celebration, celebratory.
I guess. So.
I know.
Mm-hmm. But none of it all smells wrong.
Yeah.
It all smells wrong. That's unfortunate that happened, and I'm very curious to see like what the outcome of that investigation is. Like if it's investigated, the outcome of whatever it is.
There won't be any. The NFL isn't going to investigate itself as to why it chose to knock someone from 1 to 55.
That seems past humbling. That seemed like a humble would be like a 10, maybe it's 5 or 10 or something.
Very much so.
We don't want you here.
Yeah,
that's what that says to me, is that they don't.
We don't know that we want you here. Not only did we not know if we want you here, yet be grateful for anything that we throw your way, basically. And that was, as a mom of student athletes, that was my irritation with it. Like in the midst of the things.
That's Kosh, by the way. He's the mascot of the podcast.
A little bit.
Yes.
Come on over.
He clearly has something to say.
Oh, not that though. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. There. Yes.
All right.
You're amazing. Mm-hmm. Come on, back here. No.
For those of us who don't know, Kosh likes to make his presence known when he likes to make his presence
when
known.
He wants to make it known.
Clearly decided. So anyway, you were saying.
Just as a mom of an athlete, it's an interesting look. Like what or I know in watching sports that it's not always talent that takes you the furthest. Um, I know that it's a matter of continuing to show up. Yet, how do I, what am I saying? And, what do I encourage? And
For your kids?
for my kids in regards to when we get to that point, like as we're moving forward, what's our NFL combine? And, and are you telling me that this weekend is really that important to the recruitment process? Because the people that you invite to the combine, you have already watched them perform. And you've been watching them perform honestly for years. Because most of those kids have been being watched. Not only was Shedeur being watched, I've known his name for a few years, and that's with me not watching football. Um, but scouts go to every game. Footage is sent in. Like it's not like anyone. It's not like he needed to go, throw the ball, run, or do any of those things in front of you. So what happens there that's so significant that changes him from being a top prospect to
Well, do we even know that it was just a combine? Because I mean,
no,
it
we
doesn't.
didn't. Well, honestly, that's just it. There's no way for us to know.
Yeah, well, I see my thing, and I'm just gonna be straight, keep it 100 about it as much as I'm able to. Like I said before, like every um, community, whatever sports team, business, whatever the thing is, there are rites of passages that we have to go through. It could be an interview process. It could be like you're joining a club or an organization, and you have to be sponsored by somebody, and you have to come to a certain number of meetings or whatever. Like that, that's always going to be in place, and to act like those things aren't important or anybody is above those things, I think is not wise, right?
Mm.
Because that's just what is out in the world. If it's not the NFL, it'll be the job site.
Mm.
I mean, they could be contractors somewhere and be working with other people in their job. I actually had a guy working for me one time, and he got mad because one of the people that he was that one of the other guys that I had on the project wasn't pulling his weight, and so it was a whole thing because when a guy shows up to a job site, it's his job to show up at a certain standard of conduct and behavior and ability,
Mm-hmm.
or else other people are paying for his for
his lack of
yeah. So the idea that let's assume that it was just the combine, right? The question is, if your kids end up at the place where they have a combine to go to, they go.
Mm.
I mean, like it's because I mean, even if you look, and we can almost segue into the other thing we were going to talk about,
Yeah.
Mr. Sharpe, right? We'll get to it in a second.
The fact that he's Mr.
Sharpe. Mr. Sharpe. Well, we can almost segue kind of right into it because
I promise you're unk for the most of the internet, but on the behavior lately, you're Mr. Sharpe today, apparently.
I guess so. I mean, I kind of always kind of wanted to call him unk, but I never did, and I'm not gonna start today. He's Mr. Sharpe, right? Because these teams, they're worth billions of dollars. We're not gonna get into how much money teams are worth and how much money they gotta burn. We know that, okay? But nonetheless, there's an investment, and there's an investment that's made in players. So, in order just for them to be there and maintain the lifestyle that they're providing, the players are being provided with.
True.
And that's just as much an investment that's made by the owners of the team as it is an investment that's made by the players, even in just having them there and practicing and getting in a rhythm with somebody and all these things. And so, if they ask you to come out to this weekend, my only question is, like, is there any harm being done at the weekend? If it's just questions and practice and team building and all that kind of stuff, cool. Is it something where, like, they're taking the players into a back room and doing crazy stuff? Maybe not. I don't know. But
Quentin Tarantinoing them.
I
don't know. You don't never know. Hey,
you never know.
And nowadays, baby oil is flowing always. You'll never know.
See, I was trying to avoid the baby oil. I wasn't going to bring baby oil in the conversation.
So here's a funny story. Your nephew's nickname is Baby Oil now.
No. Pineapples.
No.
What?
He excessively sweats. Excessively.
This
So he looks like...
Baby oil.
He looks like you squeezed it on him.
No, he
and
doesn't.
Then he poured a bucket of water and they just beat it up and just goes up.
I'm vetoing this nickname. Okay. Who gave this nickname to him?
Another parent. And then I was like... No, he just looks like he's covered in baby oil and that the sweat is just beating off of him.
Shayla, this ain't good. Shayla, that's not a nickname that you want to promote for your child. Okay.
I called him Magic Mike. You know, so we gonna have to edit this part out of the podcast because we don't need baby oil and Magic Mike being associated with upstanding citizens or an upstanding citizen. Yes. Everybody loves a good stripper. I'm just joking. I don't.
She just pay her no attention. She's just doing the most right now. I can't even think about what I'm trying to say now. We were segue into Mr. Sharpe. Mr. Sharpe. I don't know what to say about this man today. Every day is something new, and I haven't really been following. I've been following closely enough to know what's going on. And Kosh is telling us exactly what he thinks about Mr. Sharpe. Anyway, Mr. Sharpe. What do we have to say about Mr. Sharpe? I guess I did. I lost my train of thought because you went into baby oil and other things that we need to be talking about. Mm-hmm. So I guess you can look at what's happening. Mr. Sharpe, for those of you that don't know, and I don't know how you could know, but for those of you that don't know, Shannon Sharpe, who I guess over the past maybe 2 to 3 weeks, this has been moving really fast. He has had a major blow to his career and his credibility. There were some accusations made by, what was she, 19 years old about?
She's like 23 now.
Well, she's 23 now, but this relationship with this...
It started when she was 19.
It started when she was 19. He started dating a 19-year-old that he met at a gym. And from my understanding, she's either Instagram or OnlyFans model. I don't want to get facts wrong. I know it's one of the models. And he started dating her, and then she went and got this attorney, and these accusations have been made towards him.
I don't know that he was dating her. I don't know.
Well, from my understanding, they were in some kind of relationship with each other to the point where they were texting and having relations with each other.
Okay.
Yes. So
internet world. Here's where me and Parker divulge.
Where we divulge? This is just what I heard.
Having relations doesn't always mean a relationship.
Well, they had relations enough and enough times, whether they were in a formal relationship or not.
I think he was in a situationship where he just...
Situationship?
Hey, how you doing?
Well, okay, but ultimately he was in a situationship with a 19-year-old when he's like 50-something. Okay? And...
Clear.
What?
You were clear.
Yeah, I mean that's and so she's making accusations and saying that some of the activities that they have were not consensual. She's got an attorney who is known for going after powerful, wealthy, mostly black, but I don't know. I mean, race is a part of it, but not really. I mean, yes, she's white. Shannon Sharpe is black. And this attorney has gone after Jay Z and some other people as well, attempting to get very large payouts. She's basically suing him civilly for $50 million.
Mm.
And since all these accusations have come out, he has taken a leave of absence from ESPN, which is owned by Disney. That's been a major thing because Disney likes to keep a certain kind of clean image, and that's very well known about Disney. And so Shannon Sharpe has taken a leave of absence from Disney. And at the time of all of this happening, there was a publicized like $100 million contract that he had that he was working on with another. Because for those of you that don't know, Shannon Sharpe has a very, very popular podcast called Club Shay Shay. And Club Shay Shay, one of its most recent claim to fame was an interview that he had with Cat Williams, which, from my understanding, is like one of the most, if not the most, streamed interviews ever made. It was the definition of a viral video on steroids. And so he has had much success with his Club Shay Shay podcast, and he was in negotiations for some kind of other podcast or some sort of media thing for like $100 million when this accusation came up from this young woman, and it's put the internet on storm. Like, there's a lot of talk about this, and it's become a really big deal for a lot of reasons. I mean, you name it. This has sex, this has race, this has age, this has fame, power, all the things.
And kink.
And kink.
Yeah.
And kink. There was a whole choking thing in terms of like, in terms of some of the text messages and voice messages they had going back and forth about things they'd like to do in the bedroom. So, I mean, this has become a big deal. And this is a perfect example, just kind of harkening back to what we were just talking about with Shedeur Sanders. It's like these teams do make an investment in the players. And I suspect, just as was what has happened with Shannon Sharpe, how quickly his he's kind of been put back on his heels with this whole business with this young woman and these accusations. I mean, some of that can just be very volatile. So I can see why the team. I can see some interest in the team knowing that they have people in their ranks that are going to play ball and behave a certain way.
So when you were saying that he's taking a leave of absence from ESPN, I was checking to see. I was like, well, I'm subscribed to both of his channels, and I feel like he's been doing stuff.
He has been,
and so
on his podcast.
Actually, not on his podcast. He had something 4 days ago, yet his channel Nightcap with Ocho Cinco that he does with Ocho Cinco, he's been heavily active on there, which I figured he would be, just because the setup of that show, it lends itself. It's more just a quick back and forth. It's a back and forth kind of sports show but they do cover other stuff, but it's primarily sports. It's interesting. One of the things that has been said often is about how many people have told him to slow down, settle down, because I remember watching the episode. I don't recall who he was talking to, and they asked him, like, would you go as young as 30? And he was like, well, if she's legal, she's legal. And he was like,
I said that's a stupid response.
Yeah.
That's really
And
dumb.
they were like, no, you can't do that. And he said, well, when they're younger, they make me feel younger. And it's just he often talks about how he's never gotten married because football was his wife. He was committed to football and that was it. And so just watching how all this play out, it makes me question whether or not he's ever developed any of the skills needed to really have a relationship with someone who is more mature than super young and for any significant period of time. Um, Even the reason I said, I wasn't sure if they were in a relationship and if it was just more of a situation, because there was one text message where she said something about 25,000 per butt cheek or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, interesting. Yet while you were, kind of recapping all of the foolishness in that's going back and forth with Shannon Sharpe, I was thinking, I said, Jay Z just recently shut all of this down. He just recently shut down someone trying to civilly sue him for something. And what he said was, if if what you have is so relevant, and it was his lawyers who did it. If what you have is so relevant, you need to take it to the criminal side because I don't move like that, and you're assassinating my character in such a way. I don't stand for people behaving like that. So if I sexually assaulted you, take the evidence over to the criminal side because I don't deserve to be walking around the streets. And it shut the case down within like a week. I'm sure he had his lawyer say it in legalese. Yet all of a sudden Jay Z stuff went away,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like we've heard that. I don't know, the $25,000 per butt cheek reference in a text message. The fact that Shannon Sharpe has been his attorneys have been going back and forth about this for months with this young woman's attorneys. Like all of that, it just I don't know. I question where his head is. Um, Yet less of where his head is and more of where his heart is. Like what is it within you that you've put yourself in position to be hurt in such a way, you know?
To be hurt in such a way?
Yeah, this is gonna hurt him. Hold on. Yeah, this is gonna hurt him. Um, because ultimately it's gonna hurt him financially, and it
Okay.
definitely ruins the opportunity. Um, Sorry, I got a call. Um, it 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 ruins potential opportunities. There's other people who are gonna look to him and say, well, some of his proclivities, I don't know if we want to be attached to,
Sure.
um, because of all the things, race, age, power dynamics. Um, yeah, like
I mean, it's complicated, not complicated in a way. I mean, to your point, it's like some of this stuff is foreseeable. It's like when you're with somebody with that kind of age gap, you're asked, especially when you're somebody that would be considered like in the when you're with somebody who would be considered in like just the barely legal category. Um, you gotta ask questions, right? And I'm not here to judge Shannon Sharpe or this, young woman. I don't remember what her name is at all for what they do. And now it's all in the public domain and everybody's talking about it, and it's bringing up a lot of questions and feelings and all kinds of things amongst the people. And it is a good question. Like, okay, why? Like, Shannon, you do you know who you are and what position that you actually hold? And did that meaning, like, did you know that that you, like, do you have an awareness of the power dynamic and of what you have to lose by being in this position with this woman?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me some of the feedback that others gave him, because apparently, like, even Monique and one of the other comedians, I forget her name, Cheryl Underwood, all said to him on his podcast various things to the point of mainly, like, Monique was like, yeah, you need to find somebody your age or at least much older than the girls you like to deal with, and she said it to his face right on his podcast, and it's like, well, clearly the industry knew something that the public might not have been aware of. And it's like, if you are, I think the advantage that this attorney and this woman had with their case, whatever the case is, whether it's legitimate or not, is the timing of it all. It's the timing and it's the details.
Yeah.
And it's also Shannon, because this happened as he was this is happening in the middle of his negotiation for a very, very large payout for one of the projects that he's doing. And I don't know if it happened before or like what came first, but ultimately either it's horrible luck for him that they just happened to be announcing all this in the middle of his negotiations for this other deal, or it was deliberate. But ultimately, it's like, he's not in a good position regardless of what the truth is. And he doesn't seem to have a lot of discipline in letting his lawyer speak for him, because I know his lawyer has spoken. I think he's got Lanny Davis now. I think that's his lawyer. Don't quote me on that. But he's got, internet people, do your research on that.
Well, I'm like, let's
but
see.
I think he just recently hired another attorney.
Oh, okay.
And I think it was Lanny Davis, but nonetheless, Shannon Sharpe doesn't seem to have a lot of discipline in knowing when and how to talk about this to the public and how to address people, and that concerns me. And it also concerns me. It's like it just looks so bad, and it's hard. It's the kind of look bad that even if everybody was fully consensual and this was all above board, and these two were in a relationship, but it was just there wasn't any sort of sexual assault or anything like that. It was just fully consensual relationship between these two. On its face, it looks horrible, even with all that being true. The optics are terrible for Shannon Sharpe, and I would hope that he learns that it's not, that like some of these things are just not about what he might think about it, and and at some point, we all have to answer for certain things, and I feel like that's the position he's in. What? Okay.
Interestingly enough, I've seen this woman's face, and I thought that the internet was interneting, and it was just false, like people putting a picture with a name, but it not being
like a catfish kind of thing.
Yeah, like it not being the correct. No, not like a cat, like a
deep fake.
not a deep fake. You know the rag mags that like they will have the right names, but they won't have the right picture sometimes because they're quickly trying to grab something. So apparently something else has come up, and this is from 2010. It is a woman who is sharing. She's sharing details about a 2010 sexual assault. And she made a statement that Shannon Sharpe said he would destroy her if she ever told anyone. The lawyer issued a statement saying
Yeah, I think I heard something about that.
nothing more than old news, exaggeration, and some misrepresentations of fact. So, um, interesting, yet that's the messiness of all of this, because of course you're fighting in real time something from a young woman who I've read statements that said when that Instagram leak happened with you, Mr. Sharp, having sex on Instagram Live, the sounds of you having sex on Instagram Live, when that leaked a few months back, apparently you were still in relationship with this young woman. I think she's 23 years old now. So all of it is just like it's a can of worms that opens up other things that also positions like it's just too much. I don't know. I feel like I have a take on it. Yet every day there's more information introduced that I'm just like I'm not really sure that you know what the take is, because I remember this because it's something that Parker and I say to each other often, and that is you don't entertain or have relationships with someone who has absolutely less to lose than you do.
Yep.
And and I'll take it a step further and say don't have sex with someone who has nothing to lose or who has less to lose than you do. And
Well, I think less is a bit overstated. I think nothing. I mean, this disparity is huge between you two.
this
Like she has nothing to lose,
yeah she
and he has everything to lose.
he has everything to lose.
You know,
And it's just less is
very subjective.
Is very subjective. Yet nothing says enough, because everybody is at a different space in life. Yet to the people watching this, know that your intellectual property is what you have to lose, because a lot of times people do things not realizing the value of where they're going and the possibility of where they're going, and it's just flit it away.
Yeah, and I think to your point, and kind of on an aside at the same time, it's like part of the kind of mind bending aspect to this is that I think a lot of people want to act like the lifestyles of these entertainers, whether it be sports, whether it be musicians, whether it even be politicians, or even people that have lots of money, are like anything that we would consider normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not. I mean, that's just what is. Like if you go to these athletes or these entertainers or any of these people, a lot of time they might have a whole line of women. These guys that might have a whole line of women that are attempting to have relations with them at any given time, and so the idea that this particular one happened to get Shannon Sharpe is not shocking to me. A lot of people, it shocks the senses of a lot of people, and I think it doesn't shock mine because we hear about it. I mean, enough. Like you don't have to look far to hear stories about musicians. It's just that we don't hear about it, right? And they don't. And in those cases, like there weren't accusations made years later, and if there were, we still didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
Right. And this is different for whatever reason. It's different. And we are hearing about it, so everybody's examining it like these athletes play by normal rules when they don't. But that doesn't take away that this is a dynamic this is a consequence that's foreseeable. I mean, clearly it wasn't a one-night stand because this happened over time, as you stated, right? And Mr. Sharpe got into some kind of relationship with this person to the point where they're texting back and forth and doing all these things. So it's not just like, she made it to the locker room and some stuff happened that night, right? Like that's not what this is. And all this stuff, like I said, it's foreseeable, and it's a game that you can't win. Like whatever result happens now, he's already lost. Yeah. And now the question is only going to be like, how bad is he going to lose?
And is he going to continue to lose over an extended period of time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he's already lost. But I don't like that. I've had a huge, even with some of the, like, on one hand, I can say I agree with Monique and Carol Underwood and Cat Williams basically said the same thing in his own way. On one hand, I can say I agree with them. On the other hand, there's no other hand. I do agree with them. And is it fair to the reality of the world we live in and how powerful people are treated? That's a part where I'm like, I'm not so sure it's honoring that. Or is this one of these things that, in this upheaval we're dealing with in the world right now, that we're watching like shake violently away? It's like, because Shannon, you got no business being a 50-some-year-old man with a 19-year-old. Sorry, that's just not, that math don't work. And there's no universe where it will. At least in the way that we like to act like our society is set up.
Yeah, very much so.
But I don't know. I mean, and then there's this other dynamic to what if the accusations are right? Like, what if she's not lying? What if, because we don't, I mean, the other thing that people don't say as much is that many of these people that have these public personas, it's just that. It's a persona. It's not necessarily who they are. We don't know Shannon Sharpe. He could be publicly Unc and privately just the worst human, and we don't
come
know.
sit on my couch,
right? No, I was not very. Hey, look.
You don't want to talk about the casting couch.
No,
we're talking about Hollywood.
No,
so,
I mean, I didn't need that image. I didn't need it.
She's on OnlyFans. It's okay.
Well, I didn't say she didn't need it. I was talking about me.
Oh, okay.
I did not need, in this moment. I did not need the couch.
He's always talking about pineapples. I don't know what he's talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't act like you don't. It's like nobody wants to be sitting on his couch. You know what? This is the problem. Nobody wants to even know that the couch is there. So we don't want to be talking about Shannon Sharpe's couch. Nobody actually wants to be talking about this. has this given the internet something to talk about when that's
Sure.
all the internet does is talk about shit?
Talk about shit.
Yes, but don't nobody want to be talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
For real? Like, no, nobody wants this. We don't want this. Take it back. Can you take it back? No, this you can't unwind time like that.
Chill out. I
We're
love
not
you
Doctor
too.
Strange.
Mm-mm.
But yeah. So that's Shannon. That's all I have to say about Shannon. I think we just have to see what happens.
No, you're not.
It sounds like Kasha's calling it. Anyway, so that's what I got. You got anything else, Shay?
Fighting foolishness. I'm like,
Fighting foolishness. Well, anything else you do have, we can save for another podcast too.
True.
Because there's always going to be lots of things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess with that said, do all the YouTube things. Like, share, subscribe. We need your support.
Comment.
Comment. Yeah, get the
Comment.
engagement up. We'd love to hear from you. And this is a new podcast. The channel's been kind of down for a while, but we're back to posting. And this is going to be one of the first posts up on the channel. So I look forward to engaging with everybody further. This is Parker and Shay.
Hey.
Fighting Foolishness. And we're out.
One conversation at a time.
Just one conversation at a time. So that'd be our theme.
I think so.
Okay, we'll see.
No, look, fighting.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's really not bad.
Yeah, I was like fighting foolishness. One conversation.
One conversation at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or one post. Yeah. Anyway, we'll figure it out. I'm gonna overthink it. Is what I'm gonna do. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Thank you. And we're out.
Do you have to keep looking?
No, I'm just giving me space to edit the thing away.
You gotcha.
See how